Joining us now is Chris Aylward, National President for the Public Service Alliance of Canada. Chris, thank you for dropping by tonight.
My pleasure, Michael.
You know, I want to begin with how you're feeling right now. 12 days after the strike begins, how are you feeling about the deal, about the effort that your team has gone through?
First of all, when we called this strike and we had over 100,000 of our members walk picket lines, every single one of those members should be very, very proud, because we can actually demonstrate here's where we were prior to the strike and here's where we are now, as you said, 10, 11, 12 days after the strike. I think it's a good deal for the membership, and it comes to a point where it's like, okay, what else do we think might be there? Or another way of putting that is, what are we keeping our members on strike for now, right? So when we came to that, decision point last night, we looked at it and we realized, look, we've turned over every stone possible. We honestly don't think there's anything else there to get. Something like a maybe after 2 or 3 or 4 more days of strike, and the bargaining teams did an absolutely fantastic job, and they came to the decision last night that we're at the end of the road. We need to get our members back to work, and that's why they decided last night to say we have a tentative agreement, and they're all 4 Treasury Board bargaining teams are recommending acceptance of the deal. So that's a signal as well that it's a good deal.
Okay, a good deal, you say. Although when you look at of course, wages being one of the sticking points. If you look at the numbers, you were asking for 13.5% over 3 years. What you're getting here is 12.6% over 4. If you divide that up, that's basically a 0.2 percentage point higher than what the federal government was offering. Was it worth going on strike?
It was, Michael, and I'll explain why. Yes, that's the general economic increase that everyone is applied to. But we also achieved allowances for specific groups, such as our firefighters. Our firefighters got an additional 4% as a market adjustment. And then the $2,500 that everyone gets, that $2,500 is pensionable. It's a lump sum payment. So when we started on day 1 of the strike, yes, they had put, when we gave them the deadline of the strike, they put 9% on the table. The only move after that was that they offered an additional $500 non-pensionable as a lump sum payment. So we had to go back and forth on that. We increased the general economic increases slightly from the day the strike started to it ended. But with the $2,500 lump sum payment that's pensionable, that's really going to help, especially our low-income members, the members that we've talked about making between $40,000 and $65,000 a year. So that $2,500 pensionable lump sum, for somebody making $50,000, that's a 5% increase for that particular year that we're talking about. So we did well, from day 1 of the strike to the last day of the strike. We did well on wages, but there's other issues there as well, such as the remote work issue and seniority for layoffs as well, which were 2 priority issues for our bargaining teams.
Yeah, and as we said in the introduction to you, those are the things you've achieved. But there are a number of workers, some 32,000 who are still not on strike right now. We're talking about Canada Revenue Agency workers, and that's because that is separate bargaining that is happening. So where does that sit right now?
So they met today. Both parties met today, and at around 4 o'clock this afternoon, I learned that the employer did make an offer to our members at the CRA bargaining team as well. What that offer looks like, I don't know. So that's where they're at. They're still bargaining, and as you said, 35,000 members of the Canada Revenue Agency are still on strike as we speak.
But the very fact that the government has now made this offer, does that make you hopeful that that might be resolved soon?
Our bargaining team is there, and I know they're working extremely hard to get this done, and they'll be satisfied once they realize as well that, okay, there's no further to go, and let's get our members back to work.
Okay, so again, so we'll keep watching what's happening with the CRA workers, but the tentative deal now from your vantage point, where does it go from here? Because ratification, how quickly will that actually happen?
So we will get all of the information, because there's a lot of information contained in the tentative agreement, of course, so we'll get all that information out to our members in the coming days, and we're hoping to get this ratified literally in the coming weeks ahead of us. So that's the plan, that it's the members' choice now whether to to accept or reject the tentative agreement.
Now, we have spoken every week of this strike and now the resolution. I'm going to miss you next week. But, you know, from the get-go, you were saying that this strike action was more than just about the public servants who were striking, that you wanted to set a precedent for workers, public and private sector. So what do you think this deal achieves for workers right across the country?
Well, it's certainly the best deal that, you know, for the federal unions are concerned, and we're hoping that it truly does raise the bar for all workers, you know, non-unionized private sector workers, unionized public sector workers. So we're really hoping that this raises the bar. You know, the federal government, being the largest employer in the country, you know, has set that bar, and we're hoping that it helps every single worker in this country, because every single worker in the country needs a fair and decent wage increase.
So what do you see that as then? Like a floor of 3% for negotiations going forward across the country?
Well, actually, when you look at it, it's a little bit more than that, right? So it's north of 3%, which is good. And again, with the other, you know, the $2,500 lump sum payment, the other allowances, we've certainly closed the gap on the rate of inflation. And I think that's good. It's certainly good for our members. And as I said, I sure hope it raises the bar for all workers in this country.
Chris Aylward, thank you very much for the time.
My pleasure, Michael. Thank you.